Ambassador Kethvar had witnessed the fall of 17 civilizations during his tenure with the Galactic Oversight Council. Each had followed the same predictable pattern: initial defiance, desperate resistance, gradual collapse, and finally, submission to the Council's will. The humans, he believed, would be no different. 72 hours, he had declared to the emergency session, his crystalline voice resonating through the chamber. That's how long this humanity will last once we deploy the Stellar Cage Protocol. The other delegates had murmured their agreement. After all, the protocol had never failed. A civilization's homestar would be encased in energy dampeners, slowly reducing solar output until the targeted species begged for mercy. Most surrendered within days when faced with the gradual extinction of their world. But as Kethvar stood before the primary observation deck 72 hours later, staring at the blue-green world called Earth, something was terribly wrong. The planet should have been a frozen wasteland by now. Instead, it pulsed with more energy than before. "Status report," he commanded, his forearms trembling slightly. Tactical Officer Zren approached with obvious reluctance. "Sir, the humans have adapted. When their star's output dropped by 30%, they didn't panic. They didn't surrender, they built." "Built what?" "Everything, sir. Fusion reactors, geothermal plants, wind farms covering entire continents. But that's not the strange part." Zren paused, consulting his datapad with disbelief. "They've somehow increased their energy output beyond their original solar dependency. They're generating 120% of their previous power consumption." Kethvar's primary eyes dilated in confusion. "Impossible. No species adapts that quickly." "There's more, sir. They've launched 17 colony ships during the blockade. Not evacuation vessels, colonization ships, fully equipped, heading to nearby systems." The ambassador's translator struggled to process his next words. "They're expanding?" During an extinction event, through the viewport, Earth gleamed defiantly. Cities that should have been dark blazed with artificial light. The humans had turned their dying star into motivation for technological revolution. "Sir," came another voice from the communications array, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through." The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing a human female in what appeared to be military attire. Behind her, massive construction projects stretched to the horizon, not emergency shelters, but sprawling industrial complexes. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Coalition," the human said, her voice carrying an unsettling confidence. "We know you're up there, and we know you're responsible for dimming our sun." Kethvar stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Kethvar of the Galactic Oversight Council. Your species will submit to—" "Submit?" Admiral Chen interrupted, actually laughing. "You clearly don't understand who you're dealing with. You've given us the greatest gift possible, a deadline." "A deadline?" "Humans work best under pressure. Ambassador, you've united our entire species against a common threat. Every nation, every corporation, every brilliant mind on this planet is now focused on a single goal: proving you wrong." The display shifted, showing images that made Kethvar's secondary hearts skip beats. Massive orbital platforms under construction, weapons that channeled stellar energy, fleets of ships being assembled not in desperation, but with methodical precision. "You want to know what happens when you try to break humanity?" Admiral Chen continued. "We don't just survive, we evolve. We don't just adapt, we transcend." Kethvar watched in growing horror as the images continued. Humans had somehow reversed-engineered the stellar cage technology from studying its effects. Worse, they had improved upon it. "Your 72-hour prediction was almost accurate," the Admiral said. "Except you got the outcome backwards. It took us exactly 71 hours to figure out how to not just free our star, but control yours." The command deck erupted in alarms. Throughout the fleet, ships reported the same impossible readings. Their own stars, light years away, were experiencing fluctuations. The humans hadn't just broken free of the cage, they had learned to build cages of their own. "How?" Kethvar whispered. Admiral Chen smiled. an expression that somehow conveyed both warmth and terrifying determination. "You made one crucial mistake, Ambassador. You assumed we would break under pressure, but pressure doesn't break humans, it forges us into something stronger." The transmission showed Earth one final time. Where there had once been a dying world, now stood a fortress, not built for defense, but for expansion. The humans had transformed an extinction event into a graduation ceremony. "We thank you for the lesson in galactic politics," Admiral Chen said. "Consider it our tuition payment for joining the cosmic community. But understand this, we're not joining as subjects. We're joining as equals." The transmission ended, leaving Kethvar staring at a planet that shouldn't exist, belonging to a species that shouldn't have survived. 3 days later, the first human diplomatic vessel arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. It wasn't a plea for membership. It was a polite but firm notification of humanity's presence in the galaxy. The ship's message was simple. "We're here. We're staying. Let's talk." Kethvar realized that for the first time in his career, he wasn't witnessing the fall of a civilization. He was witnessing the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that responded to extinction by reaching for the stars. They had said humanity would break in days. Instead, humanity had redrawn the very map of galactic power. The age of human expansion had begun.